This is a collection of PowerShell scripts I've designed for getting avatar IDs from various locations. I'm going to run through this from the top, starting over here. So close VRChat, get avatar IDs from output logs and hide, cache Windows player and hide, merge avatar IDs, text files, non-hidden. So non-hidden for all of this. This script is just generally effective for getting avatar IDs from various locations while you're playing. There are variants here if you want to like include hidden for some reason, like maybe you wanted to rescan stuff, then that works, and that works. They're all just kind of variants. So cache Windows player though doesn't mean specifically like every little file in there. It's more directed toward the one where they actually write data into, like with avatar IDs. Although to be fair, these are compressed files and I am not extracting the data, so or like the script won't extract the data for you, so you could potentially get kind of corrupted IDs. You could try the hexadecimal characters against like question marks it might return if you want to try guessing at IDs. But okay, so that's basically that one. And then this one's pretty straightforward. It looks at this file here. So if you pasted a bunch of stuff in there and then you wanted to run a scan against it, you could do that and it would clear this for you afterward. This is also really self-explanatory. So it gets it from your clipboard, your system clipboard. So if you do Control-C on something and then you run this, it can pull data from there. Just to be clear, if you want to run, you need to right click and say run with PowerShell, or at least that's one of the methods you can do it. That's like an easy method for doing it. Okay, so continuing. This I had in kind of this format before. Although to be fair, that one was actually missing, but I've added it. So you can go to your browser, log into VRChat, and it'll help you like go to like different API links basically for getting data. Then you copy it to your clipboard and then you proceed and it'll grab from the clipboard to ultimately like get a collection and give you a file and save all that to your clipboard. It's a bit clumsy though. So I ended up designing this. This is like the biggest script I have here. This was a lot of work. This gives you the ability to actually log into the VRChat API, and let me show this. So it's got some configurations at the top. If you feel like playing around and making your own code, maybe you could change that to true. It'll leave you logged in for testing. But generally, if you're using it like a normal person, or like for it's more like what it was designed for, basically, you can tweak these if you feel like saving them as like encrypted files on your computer to skip login steps. I don't see you generally like having to run this script that much, so you probably could just leave these false anyway, but the option is there if you feel like doing it. There are some security things implemented in here just to try to help protect your data, because PowerShell is like not exactly the most secure thing. Like there's process logging. There's even like a text file where it'll write commands to. So the command one, like with the text file, that's been disabled. If you have script block logging, that's gonna try to like get a lot of data into the process logs, that it'll check for, and it will tell you it's enabled if it is. It's not by default, I believe, but if it ends up becoming that way and you try to run this script, it'll tell you that it needs elevation to disable that in the registry. So you can just like go through that. If you try running this on non-Windows, I don't really have like security for that. So aside from like it's going to refuse to run. So just make sure you're running this on a Windows platform. The reason for that is like, well, maybe just general file stuff, and then that for example, the password saving, because the Windows data protection API isn't available on other platforms, .NET isn't able to use it to encrypt the data. So it's just going to refuse to run on non-Windows. Okay, continuing from that. Yeah, avatar IDs from file. You can select any file that you saved. For example, like an HTML file, or it could be a text file, and it'll just scan against that. It looks for the content, not the file name. Same thing over here, except this one lets you select a folder, and then every file within that folder and any files within the subfolders, however far down, will be scanned, and it'll return that for you. This one from local avatar data, that's a folder located in the, I think it's like the local low of your app data within the VRChat folder there. Same thing with this OSC. Okay, so these two are very similar. So they're both going to scan that specific folder they're named for, and they look at the file names because the avatar IDs are within the file names basically, and they'll return that to you. Output. Oh yeah, I covered that one up there. And recent. This refers to avatar worn history values within your registry of like the current user, I believe. So those end up over here whenever you're turning into things, and you can run that script to pull those. So we're going to see that I get 25 here, but theoretically, if I had another account I was logging into and I was pulling different IDs, that would also end up there. So if you want to like remove a specific one, you'd have to go to the registry to delete it, because it'll save that for like each VRChat account that you're logging into. So there's an example of like me getting it from my clipboard, and or like it's saving to my clipboard and then me posting in this system that can load a bunch of stuff. That's a free system also available on my Boost page. And then let's see, those covered. That was covered. Okay, so this is the last one. This one I've changed since initial release. In initial release, you had, oh, there we go. Okay, it should look like that. So in the initial release, it used URL 1, URL 2, and that was kind of a pain, I think, sort of confusing maybe for setup. So I've changed it to using an array. This is way smarter. And this is not going to like work right off the bat, or basically like as you get it. So you have to configure this one. Now, if you run it, it's going to take you to probably here right now in this video, this tutorial. Since we're finishing off with that, I can just throw the timestamp in there. So if I were to run this right now, for example, we'll just right click, run with PowerShell. So it tells me it requires configuration. I could say yes or no. I got to pick one of those two. Just gonna close that for now though. And that'll open the video, which is basically here. Now, if you want to disable that, did I really close that? Okay, so if you want to disable that, you need to remove this, and that'll turn this whole thing into a comment block, because like that was actually disabling the comment block. Or you could delete the entire thing if you'd like to. Either way should work. That'll disable like the tutorial question to get you here. So then it ends up being that you'll need to change this. So if you don't change anything here and you were to just run it like this, so I'm going to do that. It's not going to find anything because it's not searching anything. No results. So get that back up. It would have thrown an error actually normally, but like I have it a check in for this. So if you try searching the search term specifically, it's going to skip over that one. So we didn't see that problem happen, but you need to populate this yourself, and that kind of works like this. So like if I were to, here, let me just throw something over here just for example. So say I do a search and I'm on, let's just say Google, for example, google.com. Now this will not work for you. I'm just gonna use it as an example. So maybe let's just do this instead. We'll just say example. So say I'm searching this site called example, whatever site it is. And then we're gonna put it in like a query parameter maybe, and we'll say that search equals, and then this would be my search term. So for example, I type ABC, right? So let's just say ABC. And then maybe that's the end of it. So what you could do is you could take everything before that search term up to there, and you could put it in there and you'd be good. Just like that. Like that would be fine. Now, if there was more to the end of that, for example, and it said, let's just say it was trying to like limit a number and they represented it by n. It would be and n equals and then whatever number. So you could take that if you want to use that, and that would actually be at the end. So that's an example of like how that would be set up. There is error handling inside this script if you attempt to access, like, say, a site that returns 403. That means it doesn't like your client. So you might get this from like Cloudflare. It'll then ask you if you want to try opening it in the browser. Like if it's a 403 specifically, there's code here to prompt you like if you want to open that in the browser, you can say yes or no. So if you say yes, it'll give you some options. One's to just continue, so you skip it basically. The other two are to grab from your clipboard. So if your results are really small, you could just be on that web page. You could say Control A, Control C, put it on your clipboard, and then just say you won. That's where I have it. So then grab from clipboard. Or option 2, well, actually, it's kind of option 3 because it's 0, 1, 2. I should not be saying the numbers right now. But anyway, so the other option is that you can do it from a file. So if you said Control S on that web page, so if you had tons of results, Control S would maybe be better because, for example, you could maybe scroll through that web page and maybe like more and more stuff would end up loading. So you can say Control S to save the HTML, and then you could scan that file specifically. It won't delete the file for you, so you have to delete it later. This is just for safety reasons in case someone were to try doing something stupid. If you're advanced enough, though, you could easily tweak the script to delete it if you want to clean it up like that. And that pretty much covers it. Thanks for watching.